Very good discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to follow up on some points that were raised by my good colleague to my left. Definitely to my left.
Not very far.
And that has to go with the interconnectivity and how you chose the path that you did through Gilroy up into the San Jose area. And all of the population that is commuting from the Central Valley really, from Stockton and Modesto and Merced, and that's where the bulk of that population is going into the Bay Area. It goes through my district and just sits on a freeway in my district unless they can get on ACE, which stops too early and needs to connect seamlessly with BART. As we're talking about investments that you can be making, our state can be making into smarter rail, that's a number one that needs to be put on your radar screen, precisely because, not because I'm a fan of high-speed rail. I think this whole hearing has actually underscored 10 other ways we could better spend this money, but I know that's not the subject of the hearing today. But because you have chosen to divert around the bulk of the population in the Central Valley that connects to the Silicon Valley area, which could have the greatest ridership, the greatest greenhouse gas emissions effect, and the greatest economic impact. So I really encourage you, so I'm starting with the comment, I really encourage you to participate and work more with ACE to really optimize how you can have that connectivity that we're talking about. It sounds like there's definitely needs in the Inland Empire and the Anaheim-Los Angeles connection, but do not miss that the bulk of the population in the Central Valley that's going to the Bay Area through my district needs to be connecting on ACE directly to BART, and that needs to be on your radar screen for how you're going to optimize what you're doing. As we're looking at some of the costs, one of the points of testimony you raised, I believe it was might have been Ms. Peters, but I know it's in a lot of what I'm seeing in front of me, is that actually with this realignment, there is a reduction in cost. And yet today, just today in the LA Times, there was some concern about change orders, and including one change order that's estimated to be as much as $400 million. And even just one contractor, Tudor Perini, of $65 million. So as we're talking about what we're saving in doing this realignment, can you address how something, I mean, that's a lot of money. That's almost $500 million in change order costs. How are you going to be dealing with that and its cost as you're estimating that this is going to be less money?
So, first of all, Assemblymember, I was a Contra Costa County resident and a BART director for many years, and so I'm very familiar with the issues that you raise in that community. I happen to get married to somebody who lives in Alameda County, so I'm no longer there. But we absolutely understand the importance of ACE. And one of the things that was mentioned before was that the original Bond Act had $950 million for connectivity dollars. And as Mr. Morales pointed out, we helped get that money freed up. Big chunk of that money went to BART for the BART car replacement, which I think every day becomes much more obviously an urgent need in the Bay Area. But there was an additional $180 million that went into improvement of rail, Amtrak-based rail systems, and that also there was also money for ACE, and we also supported the development of the San Joaquin Joint Powers Board, which is very important for ACE. We work very closely with Stacey Mortensen and her team, so we see ACE as an essential near-term lifeline. The high-speed rail alignment itself goes through Gilroy and San Jose because the Pacheco Pass alignment was chosen, partly because the Bond Act says that all these communities by name, including San Jose, had to be connected. There was a big controversy over whether it should be Altamont Pass or Pacheco Pass. High-speed rail is doing Pacheco Pass. Altamont Corridor Express is doing Altamont Pass. So on the question of the cost, why the costs came down for the northern segment.
Well, that wasn't actually the question. It was how you're going to deal with the change orders.
Right. So I thought there were two questions.
Yeah.
First, I thought you wanted an explanation of the first and then the change order question second, but I can just jump right to the change order question. So my reaction when I read the LA Times story this morning was that there was nothing in that story that we hadn't already told the public, the legislature, and everybody else through our various means. We have very sophisticated risk management tools that we use. We kept insisting to the reporter, who otherwise seemed to have this narrative, that the fact that a contractor has a list of things that they may claim does not mean that those claims are either real or that we are at fault for the things the contractor said. And I think I was quoted in the article as saying, this is not a self-executing process. This is a process where, first, if the contractor says, hey, you didn't deliver this parcel on time, and so I had to have equipment sitting around waiting, the first thing we do is we send auditors out to see, did the contractor actually have equipment sitting around waiting, before we even get to the question of who's at fault. A couple of weeks ago, what we did was we stood up and we said publicly, and this is, I think, goes to the whole question of oversight and our responsibilities to you and your colleagues and to the public. We stood up and we said, there are 2 or 3 areas here where we're starting to see risks that could lead to cost increases if we don't deal with them. And one of them was if there are delays in right-of-way acquisition process. Now, we've very much more gotten on top of right-of-way, but still an issue. Another was this issue of third-party contracts, dealing with my old company at PG&E, AT&T, Union Pacific, and there are risks associated with the cost of those contracts. We have to pay the utilities to relocate any facilities that we would cross that need to be relocated. As the chairman knows from his past life's work, that can be expensive or not expensive. It tends to get more expensive if the person you're working with doesn't know where their facilities are in the first place. And so that has been one of the things that we've had to try to get our arms around. But in identifying those risks, Assembly Member, it doesn't mean that those risks are going to happen. What it means is we have to be laser-like in figuring out a strategic way to deal with those. And could they result in a cost increase? They could. I would not insult your intelligence by suggesting otherwise. But our odds of avoiding that are a heck of a lot higher if we've identified them early and we know what they are. So the story that ran this morning was nothing more than a regurgitation of what we ourselves stood up and said in public meetings and quantified the risk. So your question was, how are we going to deal with that? We deal with it the way we deal with every other problem. We try to identify it early, we try to understand it, and then we try to develop mitigation measures to work around it. In the case of the third-party contracts, we're having very strategic initiatives with those companies to get them to get their arms around these things so that we can get our arms around the costs. We will continue to update you and the public virtually every month at our Finance and Audit Committee meetings, which are open to the public, which members of the legislative staff attend, where we go through all of these risks and say, how are we doing on addressing them at this point? So I can't tell you 100% that these risks won't turn into realities, but I can tell you that the fact that today we're identifying them at risks doesn't make them realities today. And this is something we manage to.
And change orders happen, and unforeseen experiences happen in construction. I can understand that. Were they, when you were trying to determine the new alignment or the next sequencing, did that play any role in your determination, the potential risk for cost overruns? And
no, I mean, I think that it is fair to say that going across the mountains does have higher risks than going across the flatlands in the north. I would say that is a factor, but that risk and cost, it was something that we looked at as we looked at south versus north. But primarily it was driven by what we talked about before, the funds that we believed are available to us and the ability to get something up and running the quickest.
So I do want to get to Mr. Gray's last question. And then what I'd like to do is excuse the panel and go to public comments, because it is starting to get later and I want the public to have enough time to speak also. So, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to harp on a point, but I have a few specific numbers I'm interested in. What is the cost of the spike up to Merced from the Y north?
I think it's $2 billion.
It's approximately $2 billion from where the construction ends, which is south of the Y.
And what is the cost from Fresno south to the almond orchard?
I knew I was going to get in trouble for saying that.
We have two contracts totaling approximately, with all the contingencies, it's about $2 billion. It's about $2 billion.
So we could move that $2 billion up to that $2 billion. What are the ridership numbers from the almond orchards versus the ridership numbers from Merced?
I think we have to get back to
Yeah, I would have to get back to you on that, sir.
and we will.
If you could provide those ridership numbers to my office, but the cost is approximately the same.
It's comparable. One thing we'd have to look at, and Chairman Richard noted it before, was we're using federal funds in the Central Valley there, and the expenditure of those dollars has to be consistent with the terms of the grant. And so that's another one of the factors that plays into this as well.
Okay, thank you.
But we can get back to you on all this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank all of the panel members. You've been absolutely amazing today. I'm going to go ahead and excuse you so that at least we can have the public up to make comments based on this. But we may retain the ability to call you for questions if there is something going up.
Okay.
We want to be able to identify.
We'll stay here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. So, sir, if you would step up to the mic and please identify yourself and who you represent, please. And I'm going to give you some latitude, okay?
Thank you. Cara Tarosian from the East San Fernando Valley. Good afternoon, Assembly members. Thank you very much for this oversight hearing. The new business plan, swapping the south for the north, or the north for the south, leaves a hanging sword over the heads of the communities of Lakeview Terrace, Shadow Hills, as well as the endangered species within the Hansen Dam that are affected by some of the alternative routes that are being selected, and for many years to come, because they are not selecting a preferred route. And we would request that, at least because of the switch that leaves several years until the south gets its rail lines, at least they select the preferred alternative so that those communities can either rest or know that their properties are going to be condemned or being taken over. Thank you very much for this time, and thank you for the hearing.
Thank you. Sir, step up to the mic. Please identify yourself and who you represent, please.
Good evening. I'm Richard O'Brien. I'm mayor of Riverbank, California, and a member of the board of the Stanislaus County Council of Governments, known as StanCog. I'm here representing StanCog. Throughout the 2012 revised business plan, the importance of early investment in the San Joaquin Rail Service and the Altamont Corridor Express, or ACE, to provide connectivities to high-speed rail systems was strongly emphasized. StanCog and Northern San Joaquin Valley are extremely disappointed that, with the exception of the Burbank to Anaheim improvement, the Authority Draft 2016 business plan places much less emphasis on blended service improvement than the 2014 and 2012 business plan. Near-term improvement of the San Joaquin rail service between Fresno and Sacramento and Fresno to Oakland, and the ACE service between Merced and San Jose should continue to be identified as important for increased regional connectivity and a critical feeder to the high-speed rail. There needs to be substantial funding commitments made to these services. The authority has made, just like the authority has made to the Burbank-Anaheim corridor. In addition, there has been no state funding available to ensure the planning, environmental, and engineering work needed for improving the San Joaquin rail service to provide connectivity between Sacramento and future Phase 1 of the high-speed rail service. It was the legislative intent to use Prop 1 planning funds allocated in SB 1029 in 2012 to the Sacramento-Merced corridor to undertake planning work for improving and expanding the San Joaquin passenger rail service. There are only 2 San Joaquin daily round trips between Fresno and Sacramento, and that is not enough. Lastly, we expect the authority to reiterate its commitment to directly connect Merced as soon as possible. We hope that the authority will not ignore the commitments made to the Northern San Joaquin Valley and Sacramento in their final 2016 business plan. Thank you.
Sir, please state your name and who you represent, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Benjamin Duran. I am from Merced. I am on the committee for the Merced County Rail. And we are here today to, I'm here today well, first of all, I wanted to thank Director Morales and Chairman Richards for their sentiments about not communicating with Merced and the North Valley folks with respect to this new plan. Had they done that, we may have had an opportunity to begin some communications on how we might be able to bring the line up to Merced. So we're here today to ask that your committee, before making a recommendation for funding, that we're asking that you ask the High Speed Rail Authority to amend the proposed 2016 funding plan to include Merced as a destination by having construction of the southern leg extend no further than the planned station site at the city of Hanford. Actually, it sounds like Fresno would probably be a better option. And to take those dollars and to extend the line from the Y in Madera County up to Merced. If this were done, the southern leg would not terminate in a designated area, which is an agricultural area, and as the legislative analyst report has indicated, with no services and literally no way for people to go anywhere. By bringing Merced into the first phase, the authority will add ridership from the counties of Merced, Stanislaus, Tuolumne, and Mariposa. I did some preliminary work as I was sitting there, and this would bring populations of approximately 860,000 to the area in terms of calculating ridership. Obviously, there aren't going to be 864,000 people riding, but it is 864,000 population from 4 counties that are brought into the potential of literally coming down to Merced and getting to San Jose in 57 minutes. That's absolutely unheard of. As you were saying, Assembly member, when your folks from Stanislaus, from our folks from Stanislaus County commute through your county, through your place, it takes them 2.5 to 3 hours to get to work. They can literally come down to Merced and be in San Jose in 57 minutes. By bringing the line to Merced, the authority can once again embrace this notion of the blended services, of bringing ACE and the San Joaquin Amtrak together and creating the nexus in Merced with high-speed rail, so that travelers from the north could literally come down to Merced and take high-speed rail up into the Bay Area. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to address the committee.
Sir, state your name and who you represent, please.
Thank you. Michael Turner on behalf of the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority Board of Directors, and I first want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. It's an important part of the dialogue we need to have about this business plan, and we need to continue these discussions as the legislature debates the business plan and looks at the path forward for high-speed rail. I do want to say that we have long supported the high-speed rail project. We actually urged the legislature to include the connectivity funds in the original ballot proposal. We're using that money now. We have a project under construction that will help the Connect to Rail system in Los Angeles County and bring people to Union Station, where the high-speed rail will have one of its terminal stations. It will. That project has helped us leverage hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funds. We're also using the cap and trade funds that the Secretary mentioned on a project that will also, it's at the Rosa Parks station, but that will also ultimately link to the connectivity project I mentioned, the regional connector. So this will all link to bring people to high-speed rail. All these funds are leveraged. They help us leverage federal funds. They help us make better use of our local funds, and they're important investments. This is a big change, though, and this is a big change for the project to go to Northern California instead of Southern California. When we supported the project before, we also urged that the state make a commitment to Southern California, and that was done through SB 1029. We supported that bill. We spoke at committee and supported that bill, and we believe the High Speed Rail Authority will keep that commitment. We've had very good discussions with the Secretary, with the board members, and I want to thank the board members for being available for those discussions. They have always been available ever since Mr. Richards was on the board, and that's very important, and we will continue to have those discussions. I do want to ask the legislature and the board to keep in mind that there are a variety of needs in Southern California. We have freight projects. We are talking primarily about federal funds, federal freight funds that are now being allocated to California. We have a number of corridors of national significance on which those funds can be used. Grade separations are also important. At the same time, we have a number of greenhouse gas reductions challenges that we need to address, and the cap and trade funds can be used for that. So we have to have very frank discussions about the best use of those funds, where we can put those projects, and how we can all work together to leverage the investments that we would make in our region. So with that, I'll conclude and thank everyone for working with us.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name and who you represent, please.
Hi, I'm Dave Ginelli. I'm the immediate past chair of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce and current chair of the Modesto Downtown Community Benefit District, and representing those organizations. And I'm not going to reiterate what we've already heard. Mr. Duran and Mr. O'Brien have stated my concerns, as well as the assembly members to the right and left of each other up there, Assembly Member Gray and Baker. But we are strong supporters of the extension of ACE and the San Joaquin trains down to that Merced station to meet with high-speed rail. And we were very disappointed to see that that was not included in the 2016 draft plan. And we would like to see that included. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please state your name and who you represent, please.
My name is Andrew Chesley. I'm the Executive Director for the San Joaquin Council of Governments in Stockton, California. And I want to thank you very much for this hearing today. Thank very much both Assemblymember Baker and Assemblymember Gray for their comments as well, which reflect the concerns from the San Joaquin Council of Governments regarding the 2016 draft business plan. In 2012, the High-Speed Rail Authority made a great step forward in terms of the adoption of their business plan, and also by extension, the 2014 business plan, which put an emphasis and a priority on interconnectedness in the system, and a recognition, as Chair Richard has already commented, on the fact that this isn't just high-speed rail. This is about interconnectivity of passenger rail service throughout California. We have a very specific set of asks, though, because the 2016 draft plan is a disappointment to us in regard to it's one large step backwards from where the High-Speed Rail Authority was in 2012 and 14. We have some very specific requests. We agree with Assemblymember Gray and many of the speakers you've heard and will hear from, that Merced is essential in terms of providing service and interconnectivity to that location. And by the way, Merced is not within our region. By extension, the interconnectivity, investments in the San Joaquin JPA service, the Amtrak service, is essential to provide service to Sacramento. We also are very committed to the Altamont corridor and to the Altamont Commuter Express, and that interconnectivity is essential to be at Merced if we're to make that work. And by extension as well, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments is an important component of this, and finishing up the connectivity is the Capital Corridor from its extension from San Jose to Sacramento. And we believe very strongly that that needs to be a part of the business plan and the solution as well. We are informed by working with Merced, Stanislaus, and Sacramento. They informed our opinions. I am speaking just for the Council of Governments, but I do believe that the group that we have here is very committed to working with the High-Speed Rail Authority to modifying the business plan to a place where it's acceptable to us. And just as a way of extending an invitation, in Modesto next week on Thursday, the 8 COGs in the Valley will be discussing this at that location, and we have invited the High-Speed Rail Authority to come and attend with us, and we are looking to find solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please state your name and who you represent.
Supervisor John Pedroza from Merced County, and I also am chairman of the Joint Powers of Authority for Passenger Rail. And thank you for hosting this today. It was very educational. I want to thank Assemblymember Gray. We work very closely together on some of these issues. And some of the concerns I have, and I know I have talked to Secretary Kelly, I've talked to Mr. Morales about this very issue that everyone's talked about. And in my opinion, and I've been involved in this ever since 2008, so it's not like I haven't been here for a while. And the frustration I have is in 2012, for example, my political career was on the line because I was such a big supporter of high-speed rail. And then to see that Merced, in my opinion, and my opinion only, get kicked to the curb like we have, it's kind of frustrating because you have a bad taste in your mouth. And now as it's going to go through the Pacheco, which is still in Merced County, Pacheco Pass, not one person from the authority has come to our public work director, our environmental health people, or the board of supervisors that represent that district. So my frustration, as you can see, is elevated. So I just wanted to voice that, and anything that can be done. We're still in support. Merced County is one of the only counties to the south that hasn't had a lawsuit or anything to that effect. So thank you, and Mr. Gray, thank you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name and who you represent, please.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Dan Levitt, Manager of Regional Initiatives with the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority. The Joint Powers Authority was recently signed an interagency transfer agreement with the state to enable it to take over the administration and management of the San Joaquin Intercity Rail Passenger Service. Our JPA consists of 10-member agencies, including Sacramento Regional Transit, Alameda County, Contra CTC, San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, StanCog, Merced CAG, Madera CTC, Fresno COG, Kings CAG, and Tulare CAG. Last Friday, our JPA had a board meeting and approved a comment letter regarding the high-speed rail business plan, which I'm going to submit to you. But I'd like to give some key highlights and first note that our agency does support high-speed rail and also supports CalSTA's efforts for statewide network integration. While the draft plan represents a major change for the phasing of high-speed rail, it does not change the need for coordination and integration between the San Joaquin rail system and the high-speed rail system. With the exception of the Burbank to Anaheim improvements, the high-speed rail draft business plan places much less emphasis on the blended service improvements from the high-speed rail's 2014 and 2012 plans, which were so well received. Having near-term improvements of the San Joaquin rail service between Fresno and Sacramento and Fresno and Oakland should continue to be identified as important for increased regional connectivity as a feeder for connectivity for high-speed rail in the final 2016 business plan. We note there's been no state funding made available to do planning work and environmental engineering work needed to provide improved passenger connectivity between Sacramento and Phase 1 high-speed rail. And we're ready to partner with high-speed rail to best utilize Prop 1A funds for planning for this corridor between Sacramento and Merced. The JPA remains committed to working with high-speed rail, CalSTA, and Caltrans to determine how best the San Joaquin service can support a phased implementation of high-speed rail, and looks forward to working with them as well for an integrated statewide network that includes both conventional and high-speed rail. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next speaker, please state your name and who you represent, please.
Cindy Van Empel with the City of Modesto today. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Assembly members. I apologize for my voice. There's a cold going around the office. Unlike most of California, the northern San Joaquin Valley continues to suffer the effects of the Great Recession. The counties of San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced were more heavily hit by the Great Recession than virtually any other county, or group of counties certainly, in the country. We continue to see high residential and commercial vacancies, unemployment rates well above the state average, and sales and property taxes that are still below pre-recession values. San Joaquin Valley residents suffer very persistently and disproportionately high levels of poverty, poor health, and air pollution. Thousands of our families struggle with long commutes that strain the family structure and household budgets. StanCog's 2014 RTP notes that fully 43% of employed individuals in Stanislaus County commute to jobs outside of Stanislaus County. That's an awful lot of people. Modesto has structured our policies today to reorient development towards downtown and hopefully away from the farmland. There's still a great deal that we have left to do, but a key component that is outside of our control is funding for passenger rail. We certainly do have some funding that we can contribute, but the bulk of the funding for this project is going to come from the state and from federal sources. We have, for example, changed our zoning to allow multi-use development in the downtown area. We're reworking our infrastructure. We have a new courthouse coming into downtown, very close, and we're looking at other policies that will help make our downtown area much more attractive. But without the addition of rail, it's really going to just result in a lot of people driving to downtown. And that's something we'd very much like to avoid. We'd like people to take the bus. We'd like people to come from out of the area via train. Extending the Altamont Corridor Express to Merced will certainly draw private development money, strengthen existing connections amongst our San Joaquin Valley communities and to our Bay Area communities with which we have very strong connections. While I live in Stanislaus County, my own husband lives in Alameda County. So we have a lot of connections. And I'm not the only person. This is not that uncommon. This will also help strengthen or stabilize our economies, and it'll help stabilize household budgets. Both of these projects, high-speed rail and the Altamont Corridor Express, are very important to California's success. Connecting ACE to high-speed rail will boost ridership. We have about 700,000 people immediately along the line that we can contribute to the pool of potential riders. On behalf of the City of Modesto, I urge you to support modernizing the transportation infrastructure of the northern San Joaquin Valley and of California as a whole. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you for that. Next speaker, please state your name and who you represent, please.
Matthew Carpenter with the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. Just want to thank you, Chairman Frazier, for holding this important hearing today. For the sake of time, I will simply state that our organization is in agreement with the comments of concern as well as the solutions identified from our two counterpart agencies in San Joaquin County and Stanislaus County, as well as the San Joaquin Rail JPA. We will be providing more detailed comments regarding our concerns and hopeful solutions shortly. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Please state your name and who you represent, please.
Hi, my name is Erica Patterson, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Jobs to Move America project. It's a national organization with a broad-based coalition of community, faith, labor, and environmental groups. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Our coalition unites around the common belief that our public transportation investments should not just go towards expanding our transit systems and buying high-quality, safe vehicles, but can go a step further by also supporting the creation of good U.S. jobs, training and apprenticeship programs, and opportunities for historically underrepresented and disenfranchised populations. I'm here today to express Jobs to Move America's support for California High-Speed Rail's business plan, as we're hopeful that bringing high-speed rail to California will be mutually beneficial for transit riders, the environment, and our economy. We believe a California high-speed rail system will improve mobility up and down our state, connecting workers and families. It'll significantly reduce carbon emissions and can employ thousands of Californians in the construction of the line, building of the vehicles, and operation of our system. And we urge the legislature to ensure that jobs to build the high-speed rail train sets will be family-supporting jobs with robust training programs. Thank you for the time and your leadership on bringing Californians in a more efficient, clean, and safe way to travel that will reinvigorate our economy.
Thank you for that. Please state your name and who you represent, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith Dunn here on behalf of the Association for California High-Speed Trains. And I was trying, as I was waiting to come up and speak, to count the number of times I've been able to testify in support of the high-speed rail and their program. And it's tough to do. We've had many hearings, and I guess the takeaway that I have from it is everyone wants high-speed rail in their district, in their area. I think that as we start to look and digest their business plan, it's important to remember that the program is wanted. That the comments that we received today is people want this in their area. It has already, where they've issued these contracts, created jobs where people are out in the field working. I know you had the opportunity to tour some of the construction facilities that are already underway. They are making progress. This is a complex program. I know that as we look at their business plan and see the changes that are being mandated, and we continue to work on it here in the building, that the association and those that we represent who are out building this project now, working in the field, remain committed to make sure that it's done right. It's a tough project. We're committed to making sure we work, and we're thankful for the opportunity to continue to work with you in this committee to make sure that it gets built. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name and who you represent, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Pleased to be here for this latest iteration of oversight between this committee, the committees in the Senate, as well as the Assembly Budget and Senate Budget subcommittees. I can't remember a project that's had this much oversight given to it in decades. And that's a good thing. This is a big project that needs to make sure all the voices are heard, all the voices that you represent are heard, and to make sure it's done in the best possible way. You were able to tour some of the facilities and see in person the beginnings of the thousands of construction jobs that are going to be created by this project. Things are moving. I represent members who are working on this, and with a little luck, may work their entire career on this project, or most of it. The High Speed Rail Authority is doing their best to create as many miles of track as possible with the given amount of funding they have. This new plan connects the two valleys to each other, which we think is a brilliant idea, and there's enough money there to create the entire segment between those two valleys. An operating segment is going to attract investment. It's going to show people that it can operate, that it's in demand, and that it can turn a profit. We're sure of that. Finally, I'd just like to say that the segment between the valleys will also give Californians access to jobs and the transportation needed for that access, and connect affordable places to live with booming job centers. For those reasons and many more, we're pleased to support this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name and who you represent, please.
Mr. Chair, member Sarah Flocks from the California Labor Federation would just like to thank you for holding this hearing. We've been supporters of this project since 2008 as part of really the backbone of a statewide transportation plan. We've sat through hearings like this over the last 8 years and have really seen how the intensive oversight of the High-Speed Rail Authority and the iterative process through the legislature and the High-Speed Rail Authority and the board has produced a better plan. And I think we see that as time goes on. We are very supportive of the project and appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to speak, take this opportunity? Seeing none. So first of all, I'd like to thank all the panelists who are still here, the members of the committee, and the public for participating in this hearing. One of the things I really do want to acknowledge is all the hard work that went into this with my staff, but especially Melissa, who brought this together, and I want to thank you very much for your hard work on this. As it was mentioned, I did tour this facility from Madera to Corcoran, and saw some of the fantastic work that's being done by the tradesmen in the valley. How I got there, I took a bus from Sacramento to Stockton, and I got on a train and went to Fresno. And so I know about connectivity, and this was no way seamless with the delays and whatnot. So this high-speed rail project for the Central Valley is paramount to economic viability and able to flourish. And if you look at the power structure in California, from the Oregon border to past San Diego, it's within 25 miles of the coast. The Central Valley does get left out on a lot of things, and this is their field of dreams. And I firmly believe that, and I live in some of the areas that are affected by the power structure, that we get most of the goodies. So this is an opportunity for not only reduction of greenhouse gas, but people to afford homes in the valley and be able to commute, as been mentioned, to the Silicon Valley. This provides opportunity. But we have to be able to pay for it. And that is the legislature's responsibility, to be responsible and be able to have the ability to have input on this business plan. Right now, it's every 2 years. And I firmly believe, after seeing with my own eyes the complexity of this project and what the authority and its staff and the construction team are up against, that we need to up that game. We need to see it more often and have more input. And it was mentioned earlier also about communication. Now, they've made strides, the authority, about communicating to me and the legislature, and they've added some staff who I absolutely agree has brought a better game to communicate with me and the legislature. But when I talk about promises made, promises kept, there's one indication right there about Merced where people were putting skin in the game, and then there was a bait and switch. And that's not acceptable, especially if you can determine that the ridership is, with the investment of $2 billion here or $2 billion there, stopping in an almond orchard, and it's not even a station, it's a stop, because the DIAR does not warrant a station there and can't be added. This is a project that is worthy of going forward. It is the largest public works project in the United States, and the first high-speed rail project. And it can be a model for other states in the nation. And it should be, because we do things right. But I do not want this to turn into the next Bay Bridge. I do want that everybody involved have skin in the game and want to be successful and be willing partners to make this a success. I was a California state general contractor, so I get this, and I understand the complexities and the change orders and the acknowledgement of things changing. You have to go to your adaptive management skills to be able to create opportunity. And as we've said before, it's not been done here. So there are going to be things that need to be worked out, and there has been litigation that has been a challenge from the start, which has put them behind the eight ball in starting. But that's the democratic process, is people have the opportunity to challenge things that they don't think are right. The voters have voted for this. They have put this faith in not only the authority but the legislature and the governor. And I applaud the governor for actually accessing cap and trade funds, because the commitment was for $9 billion to be spent of general obligation funds going forward. So I'm hoping that we can better communicate. I'm going to insist on more oversight and look forward to the authority being proactive and communicate with local jurisdictions, making sure MOUs are tightened up and investments are made, and building a better relationship with the legislature so they want to be a willing partner. One of the things that was a little bit scary to me, as the Secretary had mentioned, was that he feels, or maybe the California Air Resource Board feels, that the AB 32 money, or cap and trade, doesn't sunset in 2020. That's a matter of interpretation. I don't think this legislature saw that when SB 32 didn't make it last year. And so I would like to make sure that we have a willing effort for that commitment of dollars, that there is consistency and the ability to make sure that, as the governor has stated, that we have the ability to continue funding this, and it's bondable, that there is a commitment and certainty. This project is worthy of being a model to be something proud of. And so I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation with the authority, with the public. I will remind the public and my committee members and the panel that the draft comment period is coming to a close, and I would insist that you get your comments in shortly so that they can be addressed by the authority. And we need to consider that going forward as the final plan for this segment, if in fact the authority ratifies that going forward. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and this isn't over. We're going to continue this to make sure that the people are getting what they're paying for, and that we're not going to step over a dollar to pick up a dime moving forward. So thank you, everybody. This hearing is adjourned.